Am I the a-hole for not helping my disabled sister with college? Plus update. Original post. I, female 24, have 4 siblings: Max, male 31, Lisa, female 20, Chris, male 20, Emily, female 18. Emily is disabled, and because of that, my parents dedicated themselves 100% to her, leaving the rest of us to fend for ourselves. When Max left for college, I became the main caregiver for my siblings, plus all household chores were my responsibility. I want to make it clear that Emily's disability does not stop her from functioning like any other person, and she doesn't require any assistance or supervision nor 24/7 care. However, my parents have always spoiled her rotten, and she's very rude, mean, and entitled. My parents raised her with the mentality that her disability means she's allowed to do whatever, and everyone needs to bend backwards for her. My grandparents passed away 3 years ago, and I inherited everything, which is approximately $6 million. They were very well off, I know, and the reasons I received all of it is because 1. When my grandparents were sick, Max contacted them after almost 10 years of silence because he wanted to know how much she will receive. I'm no contact with him, by the way. 2. They were very aware of how my mom treated me and my siblings, and she was disowned. 3. They were very religious, and Lisa came out as bi at 14 while Chris came out as gay at 17. I went no contact with my parents after I moved for college. And when Lisa and Chris started college, I offered to cover all of their living/educational expenses, as long as they do well in school. They gladly accepted. I also helped my best friend Lola, female 21, start her own business. I haven't spoken to my parents in 6 years. I haven't blocked them, they just never called/texted. This year, Emily started college, and she burned out all of her college fund in less than 4 months, because she's a spoiled brat, and bags were more important than rent. Lol. In addition, she's doing horrible in school because she isn't even attending her classes, and she will most likely be expelled or held back. My mom called me 2 weeks ago, not to ask, but demand that I do for her the same I do for Lisa and Chris. I said no, because growing up, I was literally a slave for her and my parents. I'm helping Lisa and Chris because they are the only ones that treated me as family. I ended the call by telling her that for 18 years, Emily was their only kid, so now they have no right to demand anything from the kids they practically abandoned. Now I'm getting shit for everyone, except Lisa and Chris, because 1. I'm causing unnecessary drama. 2. I'm causing a rift between Emily and her siblings. 3. Emily will be the only one without a degree. 4. It's not really my money and my grandparents would want me to help her. Then why didn't they leave anything for her? 5. Family is family and I should help my little sister. I don't buy into that crap. 6. It's not her fault that my parents were bad parents to me. Which is true, but she doesn't do anything to change her behavior. 7. She's disabled and it's not okay to discriminate. WTF. I feel like I'm doing the right thing, but everyone is telling me I'm not. So am I the a-hole? Edit. I received a lot of messages with questions and a few asked in the comments about my sister's disability. So I'm going to answer some questions. What disability does she have? I don't know. My parents never told me. And when anyone asked, they would get very defensive. Can't Emily get governmental assistance? No, because she doesn't have documentation that attests she's disabled. I remember my parents fighting about taking my sister to different doctors because they all refused to sign that she was disabled. Why doesn't the rest of my family pay for her? Because they are living paycheck to paycheck. Because they would spend thousands in buying Emily whatever she wanted. Why can't my parents continue paying? Because Emily's spending problem got worse since she left home, and the rest of the family is no longer in the position to give them money. Also, my dad got a work accident a few months ago and he was forced to retire, so now their income has significantly reduced. How can someone spend that much? Simple. She renewed her closet, purchased a very expensive car, and just partied until she dropped. For reference, my parents had high-paying jobs, and Emily's college fund was around $587,000 when I left for college. Did me and my siblings have a college fund? Nope. We all worked our butts off to get scholarships so we can go. For your information, writing this, I'm starting to question if my sister is actually disabled, or if it was just what my parents wanted to believe. I mean, if no doctor would declare her disabled, is she really? My family thinks she's disabled because she didn't learn how to walk until she was 5, and she didn't walk until she was 7. Maybe she was just a slow developer? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. They don't contact you at all for 6 years until they want money for Emily? Screw that. You already paid for 2 of your siblings' educations, which means they didn't have to. So they should have plenty to put towards hers. You said you never blocked them. I'd say it's time to do so. They sound awful. This is it. OP has already helped out the parents by paying for 2 out of 3 colleges. Not the a-hole. You were young and probably won't need it for a long time, but please make yourself a will, so that your money will go where you want it if anything happens to you. Otherwise, it will go to your parents or all your siblings, depending on local law. Not the a-hole. Your grandparents knew who was the right person to get their money. Don't fold. You're 100% in the right. Her grandparents gave her all the money because 2 of her siblings were queer. True. The grandparents were a-holes for disowning just because they are queer. OP, however, did the right thing accepting the money and helping her siblings. By doing so, she gave a big FU to the homophobic grandparents. Like, you didn't leave them anything, but they still got to enjoy the inheritance. So she blew up $500K buying crap. She can sell the crap she buy. Funny how they never considered that. Like, that's what I would do if I was broke. Or take a loan. And now for the update. So, funny thing. My favorite uncle called me a few hours after I made a post to tell me to block my family because they have come up with a plan to get me to pay. He didn't know what the plan was. He just heard a portion of the conversation between my mom and my aunt. And just like I said, my mom called later to tell me Emily is pregnant. So I need to help her because if I don't, I'm damaging my niece/nephew. I'm crying with how hard I started laughing. And I just told her to get lost, then block them all. But seriously, fake a pregnancy? LMAO. OP's sister had over $500,000 for college and blew it all away in 4 months? Yeah, F that kid. And those parents blocking is the best bet. You underestimate the spending power of people. With more money, I'm almost sure the rate of consumption would have been higher. Yep, this is also why generational inheritance ends in a lot of cases on the 3rd generation. Give or take 1 generation. Lifestyle creep quickly dwindles the money down to nothing. And with the insane sister blowing through $500,000 in 4 months, she would piss away all the money probably even faster than the first $500,000. Who holds on to the delusion that their kid is disabled despite multiple doctors refusing to sign off on it? Because if they admitted she wasn't disabled, the blame for her behavior and failures would fall solely on them as parents. Munchausen by proxy? My first thought was that poor girl they did a movie about recently, who was told her entire life how sick and disabled she was, until she got away from her mother. And actually she appeared to be totally fine, and it was all lies forced upon her. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my husband to pay for our son's college with his daughter's fund? I, 36 female, have been married to my husband, 57 male, for 2 wonderful years. I have a son from a previous relationship, Noah, 18 male, and he has a daughter from his previous marriage, Grace, 17 female. My husband considers Noah his son, and is in all but name. Noah's an amazing student, high GPA, plays basketball and football, volunteers for charity, and is an all-around great person. Noah has recently received a likely letter from his dream school and we are all ecstatic about it. So, my husband and I started talking about finances and how we are going to contribute towards tuition fees. I was a single mom until I got married, so I haven't gotten much saved. But my husband has mentioned the fund has been collecting for college since his daughter was born. Now, here's the part that I'm asking if I'm the a-hole for. But please read the rest of this post before making judgments. I do explain myself. I asked my husband if we could use that money for Noah as it's enough for all 4 years of his degree. He said no in the beginning, but I explained that while I love Grace, she isn't very academically inclined. Average GPA, no extracurriculars, and has even said that she's going to the community college close by for the first 2 years. Plus, she's a junior, so we have a whole year to start building up another college fund for her. My husband is still on the fence, but at least he's not sticking with no. He wanted to talk to his daughter first and reiterate what I said above. It did not go well. He said there was screaming involved and included her calling my son and I names that I will not be repeating here, accusing him of cheating on her mother, which is completely false and she knows it. We met 3 years ago, 7 months after his divorce. I've been getting a barrage of texts and voicemails from his ex-wife's side of the family, calling me all sorts of names. My husband is disgusted with his daughter's words and actions and is pretty upset and down right now. I feel like I've caused this, but my mother, sister, and aunt are telling me that I did the right thing, that my son deserves that money. I heard about the sub and wanted to get an unbiased opinion. Am I the a-hole for asking my husband to pay for our son's tuition? I was asked by mods to say why I believe I may be the a-hole. It's because all of his daughters and ex-wife's family saying that I am, and I can see how upset my husband is. I can't help but think I may have caused it. Now for the comments before reading the updates and daughter's comments at the end. YTA, YTA, YTA. Whichever way you look at it, you're the a-hole. And anyone tells you different, aka your side of the family, is an a-hole too. That's Grace's fund, not your son's. Quit it with entitlement. And if your son is as academically and athletically gifted as you say he is, then he should be able to get some scholarships. Getting a part-time job is also an option, as is getting financial aid. Your lack of planning and saving is on you. Grace shouldn't have to pay for it. Being a single mother is no excuse. Also, your hubby spent close to 2 decades saving up for that fund. And your plan is to use it and then make up for it in a year? And not even just use it for a year while you save up for the next 3 years. Still an a-hole move, but to lesser extent. But no, you want the whole lot. The entitlement is really strong with you. Your son is not entitled to Grace's money, whatever you think about her academic abilities. You denigrating them and her extracurriculars or lack thereof does not give you a pass to steal her college fund. And yes, steal, cause that's what you would be doing. And since they are super okay with you taking money that's not yours, instead of you stealing Grace's money, why don't you have your relatives, mother, sister, and aunt, contribute to St. Noah's college fund? Also, you're the a-hole for the our son but his daughter bit. You're the a-hole. The fund was made for Grace, and to Grace it will go, not to someone else. We have another year to build up the funds. You had your whole life and couldn't do it. Maybe you just married him to give your son a future? In my country, we have a name for women who do that. You're the a-hole. My son deserves that money. Wow, he doesn't deserve anything. You met and married a whole 3 years ago and you expect your husband to pay for your son's tuition? That's ballsy of you. OP. My husband loves his stepson so much. Not only has he come to see the kid as his in just 3 short years, he's prepared to screw over his own kid just to make him happy. Also, OP, why does my husband's family think we must have been together before the divorce? Yep, I was literally rolling my eyes reading this post. Good lord. I think OP thought she hit the jackpot by marrying this older man with a bunch of money, and her son's college would be paid for, and she'd be taken care of. Like, who cares about his daughter? She just gets in the way of OP's plans for her and her son's future. And honestly, I'm going to say OP's hubby is a bit of an a-hole too, for being on the fence about whether to give his daughter's fund to OP's kid. Shaking my head. You're the a-hole. Now for the update. I've accepted my judgment of being the a-hole and have read a lot of the comments. My husband and I have talked last night, and he decided Noah won't get the entire fund. The plan is, he will get enough for the first 3 years and the rest of the money will go to Grace. We will help Grace pay off any loans she may have to get as soon as we are able, and then start a new fund for our baby. Grace told us to screw ourselves when he told her, but we will still help her no matter what she does/says. Like I said, I've accepted my judgment, but I would be fine with being called a lot worse if it means my son can go to his dream school. Why the hell are they willing to pay Grace's debts, instead of making Noah get into debt and offer the same help? Because you know they aren't actually going to follow through and leave Grace holding the bag. Yep, husband is an absolute idiot. OP knows they will never, ever make a payment on a single loan. She even phrases it carefully, they'll help pay them off when they are able. So, when Grace says, hey, I need you to hold up your end of the screw job agreement, OP can say, well, I did say when we're able, and we're just not able yet. Make payments for yourself, and then when we're able to pay, we'll pay you back directly. If she sees a cent, it'll be a paltry sum. Well, we did say we'd help pay them off, not pay them entirely. Also, that fund for the baby is going to be started before Grace sees a cent. You already got your education. The baby shouldn't have to take out loans. Do you want your sibling to struggle? Why do you hate your little sibling so much? Husband is going to watch that can get kicked down the road until he dies, and wonder why Grace doesn't visit anymore. We are going to help her. Yeah, maybe the husband is, but not the woman that didn't even save for her own son and doesn't see Grace as her kid. A woman 20 years younger than her boss bangs and then marries him, and then asks him to pay for the entire college education while screwing over the bio kid? They are never paying for Grace's college or debt, and I doubt the guy is such a good student if he can't get a scholarship. So Grace has to now get a loan so this woman's son can go to school. Once she's financially stable, she will never see her dad again, and he will wonder why his daughter hates him. If I was her, I'd make sure that the majority of the loans are parent plus loans, and then just ghost after graduation. Once she's 18, she should just pack her stuff and leave. The rest of the money won't be used on her. She better start looking for a part-time job to pay those loans. I was never academically inclined, went to community college, and now I'm working on my second master's degree, which will cost me $140,000 and significantly increase my earning potential. I'd be angry if my father had money set aside for college and gave it away to a new person in our lives because they thought I was dumb. I said it on that post and I will say it here again. Just because you do well in high school doesn't mean you will do well in college. Conversely, just because you don't do well in high school doesn't mean you won't do well in college. I mean, if you have a home life in high school and finally get the chance to get away from it, or finally get to study what you want at college, you might do well. And some star students in high school just weren't prepared for the rigors of college, or say, living outside a tiny bubble of their hometown. Now, for the daughter's comments when she found the OG post. You can't be freaking serious, Christina. When Victor asked me if this post was about me, I thought, no, she wouldn't be so crazy as to try and gain sympathy for this. But here you are. And the lies as well. Dad left us for you. That's why we call you a home wrecker. Because you are. 7 months after the divorce, my butt. He went through that divorce while you lived with him. My mom told me not to hold that against him. That just because he was a bad husband didn't mean he was a bad father. Guess who's earned that new title? You lied and tried to make yourself look better. And thousands of people still hate you. Congratulations. Update. Would I be the a-hole for refusing to host my cousin's wedding reception? Original post. I, 24 female, got married very recently to my husband, 28 male. About a year ago, before we got married, we purchased our first home. We did extensive renovations on the house and put a lot of thought, time, care, and money into it. It is our dream home, sanctuary, a forever home we don't plan to let go of. My cousin 33 female recently got engaged and is going to get married this year. She and I are very different in personality, so we have never been close. Our families, however, could not be closer. Her dad and mine are brothers. Some background. She and her husband 33 male both currently live with their respective parents. She was pursuing a nursing degree but left the program. She's not working right now. Her husband works. I don't know how much he makes, but it's an average income job. I mention this because they want to throw a big, extravagant wedding. I have my personal opinion about this, but I also understand that my opinion doesn't matter. It's their wedding, their life. I have never voiced anything other than a congratulations on the engagement. The issue is when there is an expectation that family should help them achieve this. I eloped with my husband, and while we didn't have a public wedding, we did throw an intimate reception in our new property. We live in a very quiet, scenic rural area on a small acreage. It is private and thoughtfully landscaped. We have a natural pond and our property is surrounded by the woods. We chose not to disturb the land around us too much, so some of the property line is in the woods. All this to say, it's not a lot of space as it seems when I say acreage. And also to say, without a doubt, it made for a very nice outdoor venue. I understand the appeal, but the key difference is we had small wedding reception. My cousin was a big one with 80 plus guests. Still, I decided to hear my cousin out. I didn't know at the time how big she wanted her reception to be. I was placed under the impression that it would be like ours. I invited my cousin over, and she and I talked about how I set up my reception. I gave her kind of an outline she could use, including all the catering, decor, florists, etc. I made her a meticulous package on Google Docs and shared it with her. She seemed to agree with everything I was saying with a smile. I told her my husband is away for 3 weeks and I will be gone for a week as well. And if she wants, she is welcome to do some planning. Just give me a heads up. I always give my mom access to my house just in case, especially since both my husband and I travel a lot. My mom texted me if my cousin can come in with someone to plan seating arrangements outside, and I told her as long as she, my mom, is present to oversee, they can come. That's when I learned through my mom that she's planning an 80-plus guest wedding and extending the reception into our house, which I explicitly said in person and in my Google Docs is off limits. My mom told her she cannot tour with the organizer the inside of the home, that the owners have not given permission. This upset my cousin. When the organizers left, she became very upset and stormed out on bad terms. Her mother then called my mother to complain ruthlessly about me. I just got back today, and I'm told I'm being accused of being spoiled and selfish and small-hearted. None of these accusations feel warranted. I talked to my husband about what happened, and he told me the bride and her family are being disrespectful toward me, and as such, they do not deserve to host in our home altogether. He said he would revoke the invitation himself. I told him let me think about it, how to best proceed. Would it be wrong to go back on my word and tell her I can't host her reception? It will cause her problems, but it's not my problem. Here is where I feel a bit a-holy. Edit, they're now offering to cut down the guest list, but I feel like the trust is no longer there. And their sudden animosity towards me makes me hesitant to put my home and self-respect at risk just to appease extended family members. I don't believe they will follow through with their promises or honor the boundaries I've set. I feel like I was misled under false pretenses into agreeing in the first place. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Agree 110% with your husband. Revoke the invitation and be done with it. Entitled cousin has champagne tastes on a beer budget. No matter what you do, she's going to be hateful. So set her free. She doesn't even have a beer budget by the sound of things. Not the a-hole. Call a family meeting to talk to everyone all at once in a public place. Say your piece and keep it simple, fair, and unemotional. If in a one-party state, record the blow-up subtly. Or make sure it is in an area with no expectation of privacy. Once they are done acting like entitled idiots, make them aware of the recording. And that if they start spreading rumors or talking about you negatively, you will have to set the record straight. Wish the couple the very best, but while you are a family and were nice enough to extend the offer, their attitude has shown that they do not respect others, and you no longer trust them. They're on their own to fund their life in all aspects. Apologize to your father/uncle if this causes strife, but it is not your responsibility to deal with that behavior, and you expect better manners from family, especially if they try to use family as their leverage for freebies. Not the a-hole. And in the discussions, did she ever mention who would be responsible for the cleanup? I'm sure they'd leave it for you and your husband. The cleanup alone is enough to not let the reception in your house. You're so right. I feel like she didn't even read my document, because once I agreed she had made the secret plan to do what she wants. Don't forget bathrooms. I bet people will end up in your house at some point, unless you guys lock up the house. Then she will need to bring in porta potty for guests. Also, not sure if special insurance will be needed in case someone gets hurt on your property. You would be liable for this. Now for the first update. I was encouraged to make an update. Some clarification of the venue. We have a carriage house next to our main house. In between the two buildings is a courtyard. The reception would have been held in this courtyard, as well as in the carriage house for an indoor/outdoor feel. The weather where we live is not an issue. My husband was even going to string market lights between the two buildings. We have a very large finished bathroom at a carriage house that would have been for the guests. I was also going to utilize the mudroom of the main house, which has another bathroom for guests with easy access from the courtyard. The mudroom has good separation from the main part of the house, mostly by a large breezeway. We have a long drive that leads to the house, so parking would have not been an issue either. All this to say, the setup would have been perfect for a small reception. We would have thoughtfully taken care of it all. We had no issues when my husband and I hosted our own wedding reception. I love hosting and went into this genuinely happy to host. But it was always based on the understanding that my cousin's reception would be the same size/scale as ours, small and intimate. She never corrected me when I explained capacity. I sent her my notes and stuff for my reception. It had seating plans too. I think she always had the intention of securing my home as a venue and then doing what she wanted with it, hoping to get it done in my absence. When she realized my mom would supervise her visit to my house while I was away, her plan fell apart and landed us where it did. After my mom caught my cousin trying to arrange seating for guests way over the approved capacity, my cousin's family started to slander me for shutting her ideas down. I got called a lot of things I am absolutely not. This included jealous and saboteur for not being accommodating last minute. Their behavior toward me and their entitlement over our home angered my husband, who was still away. I talked it over him and we decided I should not host my cousin's reception. My cousin and her family tried to bargain with my mother, their attempt to bypass my no. They even tried to hide their phone numbers to trick my mom into answering. My cousin and her family began bullying my poor mother to convince me to accept a smaller guest list. Still over capacity, by the way. All this time they went for my mother. My phone stayed silent. I called my cousin to stop harassing my mother because I am firm in my decision to no longer host her. The trust is not there, and their behavior makes me not want to host them. She blew up on me during this conversation, expressing that I will be single-handedly botching the wedding if I back out of providing her a reception venue, and that I am cruel for not being able to do this one thing for her during a once-in-a-lifetime milestone. She told me to just please see things from my perspective and think about it. I told my husband I am tired of the cousin and her family not taking my no for an answer. I have been respectfully direct, but they keep trying to persuade me, and it's very exhausting. I know they're only saying things to get me to say yes, but they will likely not honor any of it. He said he will take care of it. He called my cousin and told her we will not be hosting her, and her disrespect towards me will also not be tolerated. He told her I was always clear on capacity, and the tantrum she and her family are throwing is because they hope to trick me into allowing a bigger reception than I approved. For the failure of that, she only has herself to blame. She started crying and asked my husband if she could throw a smaller reception at the approved capacity. My husband said we are way past negotiation. He will not allow it, not even if I ask him to. I know he said this to give me an out, and I appreciate it a lot. He told my cousin not to contact me or my mother about this request again because he will be the one they have to answer to from now on. They haven't called or texted, but my cousin tried to DM me on Instagram, and my husband sent her a voice note from my account to the chat. So I think she will stop now. Wow, their behavior has been pretty disgusting. They thought they could trick/bully you into doing this. Glad you had your mom and husband on your side. The backhanded treachery is the worst part of it, tacitly agreeing to the conditions while actively planning on breaking them. And all the relatives are mad because they didn't get to party at OP's place. Yeah, and OP hasn't mentioned anything about if they were giving them money to cover the cost of hosting them, or whether they were expected to cover that too. Sorry for not including that. The groom/bride's family were paying for everything except for a few things my husband kindly offered to pay for. One of these was hiring valet to handle parking, but that was something he wanted to do to protect us/our property. But I know he would have generously offered cover to help the event run smoothly. This was supposed to be a 40 people max event. She tried to bring in over double that. Not the a-hole. You know, I'm not always fond of guys being placed in positions where we have to play the mean, scary man role. But I won't deny it's definitely effective when you've got a bunch of cowardly people who talk trash until someone stands up out of their chair at an average height of a male individual and speaks a little above indoor volume. He had a figurative big stick, and he used it to perfection. I absolutely agree. I try not to use my husband until I absolutely have to, and wish I could have handled it entirely on my own, but it wasn't working with these people. The experience has definitely made me reflect on my assertiveness though, and how it can improve, especially when it's quite clear my cousin and her family were counting on me being someone they could get their way with/manipulate. Second update. This will be my final update regarding this issue, and I will keep it short. My cousin ended up having her wedding reception at a different relative's property. I did not attend, and neither did my husband. This is because during the time between us saying no and her still looking for an alternative venue, she made an extremely racist remark about my husband. Along with that, in a group chat screenshot that was sent to me, she called him, in exact quotes, controlling a tall mother tyrant and misogynist effer. All of this because my husband was zero tolerance about her entitled behavior and would not let her go around him. I decided to boycott the wedding. I did not want to celebrate with her. I've also gone no contact with her family. During all this, only my uncle, her father, apologized for my cousin's bridezilla behavior. My cousin and her mother have continued to remain firm on the fact that I am an ungenerous and cold-hearted person who doesn't help family. I have a small heart basically. I have urged my mom to do the same, go no contact, but I will leave it up to her own discretion. About 110 people showed up to my cousin's reception party. From what I hear, people were peeing in the bushes and stuff. Lots of littering, some property damage, and someone injured themselves, warranting an ER trip, lighting firecrackers. I think some parking violations also happened, for which there are fines. I think that's all. End of update. PSA. I highly recommend you don't ever host anyone's reception/wedding. It's honestly not worth it, as they're a whole different beast. I love to host small dinner parties, soirees, and events, but this was kind of eye-opening. And I realized how out of my depth/naive I was to have ever said yes. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom if she was a real mom, she would divorce her husband after he destroyed my career? My mom has been a witch ever since I met my wife and she met her husband. She hates her. She hates me. She sucks now, but to be fair, she used to be the best mom. I had a damn good childhood. Anyway, my mom's husband Richard has always hated me. He encourages my mom to go no contact, loudly announces how much happier she is during periods of no contact, and has said unforgivable things about my wife. I hardly tolerate him these days. Anyway, my wife is an angel, but like a normal wife and mother, has some stress. One thing she really struggles with is the pressure of being married to a businessman and all that entails. My wife hates my boss's wife and sometimes makes fun of her behind her back, but I view it as a normal healthy venting. My mom doesn't even know this other woman, but jumps in to defend her. So I've asked my wife not to do it around her anymore. Well, the other day, my mom's husband was playing golf and met my boss. He recognized him from hearing his position and told him he knew me. Then he started it on, "Do you know what his wife says about yours?" and told him everything. My boss called me into his office and tore me to pieces. It was humiliating, and now I feel my career is in jeopardy. He's been giving me all the crappy work lately and making jokes at my expense. I drove to my mom's house and asked Richard why he did this, but he just started laughing. My mom lightly slapped his shoulder and told him he shouldn't have done it, but she wasn't that bothered. I finally lost it and yelled at her that if she was a real mom, she would divorce him. But I know the moment I leave, she's going to cook his dinner and probably do more because she doesn't care about her kid. Not the a-hole. If there was ever anyone who should be totally no contact with his family, it's you. To be honest, the writing is on the wall as far as your job goes, so I would start looking for a new one sooner than later. Also, think about moving. Sometimes a fresh start in a new area is what people need. Your spouse seems to be in need of maturing. She wasn't at all jealous or should have behaved that way toward your boss's wife. She's being a major bully. This is not healthy venting. Everyone sucks here. Your wife and mother don't get along, so why did your wife talk smack in front of the mother-in-law? It's the oldest issue in the book, that the mother-in-law or the wife will find ways to screw each other over. Also, you could have simply denied to your boss and told him the guy has it out for you but has a record of lying. It was a he said, she said situation. But the easiest way for word to not get back to boss that you and or wife was crap talking his wife is to never talk crap in front of anyone, let alone someone who clearly would love to use anything they can get to mess with you. Wife sucks for talking about anyone in front of mom. Her husband sucks for tattling. And OP sucks for throwing this little tantrum when he should be distancing himself instead. Why are you chasing after your mom like this? She ain't going to dump him, so find a way to pull back. And definitely don't give her any gossip fodder when you do see her. Not the a-hole. However, no one in this story seems like a particularly good person. I feel like I need to know more about why your wife hates your boss's wife. I'm sure she has her reasons, and your boss is immature for how he handled the situation. You should definitely go no contact with your mother and her husband. Blowing up on them and saying the things you did was probably not the right thing to do. But it's over now. Update. Am I the a-hole for becoming indifferent towards my wife after discovering her affair? Original post. My 30 male wife, 34 female, and I have been together for 8 years, 5 of them married. I thought we were the kind of couple that could tell each other any problem. I loved her deeply and always believed she felt the same way about me. Like many couples, we had our ups and downs, but I never thought it could lead to infidelity. 4 months ago, I started noticing changes in her behavior. She was more distant, always glued to the phone and avoiding our conversations. You know, the typical thing about a cheating person. Well, one day I came across a message on her phone that confirmed that I feared the most. She was seeing someone else. It was like a punch in the stomach. I felt anger, sadness, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. But instead of confronting her right away, I decided to wait. My main reason was to protect myself in a possible divorce. If I was going to face this situation, I wanted to have solid evidence. So I spent the next 2 months gathering messages, photos, and anything else I could use if things got legally difficult. During those 2 months, I pretended normality while the pain piled up. I watched her act like everything was fine, and with each passing day, my feelings for her faded. The love I once felt was replaced by indifference. If anyone says that love for someone doesn't go away, well, it's not entirely true. When I finally gathered all the evidence, I confronted her. I showed her everything I knew, and although she tried to deny it at first, she finally admitted that she had been having an affair. She said it was a mistake, that she still loved me, and that she wanted to work things out. But by then, I didn't feel anything anymore. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't even get angry. I simply told her that it was okay, that we could get a divorce, and that we could each move on with our lives. My lack of emotion baffled her. She said my indifference was cold and cruel, and that if I had truly loved her, I should have fought to save our marriage, which was ironic coming from her. But the truth was that I did love her, very much. Only after 2 months of living with a betrayal in silence, I just didn't care. Am I the a-hole for becoming indifferent towards my wife after discovering her affair? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Remember this, the only reason she is sorry is because she got caught. And she wants to work on the marriage after she realized she was caught. Me thinks the affair partner doesn't want anything serious. More likely OP has money and the affair partner does not. Not the a-hole. The indifference you are feeling is probably a defense mechanism. Don't be surprised if you have a lot of different emotions. Good luck, OP. True, grief hits people differently and sometimes at the oddest moment. Now for the first update. Wow, honestly, I didn't expect the volume of messages I've received in the past few hours. I apologize for not being able to respond to each comment, but rest assured, I am reading them all. My inbox is flooded with hundreds of replies, and I'm truly moved by the support and by how many people took the time to share their experiences and opinions. At first, I felt overwhelmed reading so many stories from people who have gone through similar situations, some even worse. I never imagined that so many people could relate to what I'm experiencing. It's eye-opening to realize that infidelity is more common than I thought. And yes, there were also comments that made me question whether I disconnected emotionally too quickly. But after reflecting, I believe I did what I needed to do to protect myself. Some have told me I should have tried to save the marriage, but the truth is, I don't think I could have. The betrayal felt like a wall that went up between us, and once I saw everything clearly, there was no going back to what we once had. It's not that I don't want to love or be loved, it's just that the chapter with her is over for me. Does that make me cold? I don't know, but it's my truth. One of the most impactful realizations has been seeing how many people are stuck in relationships where trust has been broken and they feel lost in how to move forward. To everyone who asks how I'm handling it, I don't have a definitive answer. For me, it's been a slow process, Day by day, watching the love fade until it was simply gone. I also received messages from people in my wife's position, those who made mistakes but genuinely want to make things right. It made me wonder what would have happened if I'd confronted her before my feelings faded. Maybe things would have turned out differently, but honestly, I doubt it. Once trust is broken like that, it's nearly impossible to go back to what it was. Anyway, I want to thank everyone who shared their words, whether supportive or critical. You've given me a lot to think about, and I'm grateful for that. I'm processing all of this bit by bit, but if there's one thing I'm sure of, it's that for the first time in months, I feel like I can breathe and look forward without the weight of what happened. Thank you again. Bro, just love your kids. I don't have children, but we plan to have them in the future. Also sorry for others' comments blaming you for the affair. It's amazing how they always blame the victim. Divorce is the right decision. That level of lowness isn't something worth trying for. Second update. Hi everyone. For those who don't know, I'm the guy whose wife cheated on him and I eventually became indifferent about it. I'm doing this mini update because many of you asked for one, but I'm feeling a bit lazy today, so don't expect a long one. To start, the divorce is in progress. The notice was delivered to her at a friend's house since the house we live in is mine, inherited from my mother's side. Regarding the divorce, she didn't take it well and called to tell me she would contest it, saying we weren't getting divorced. I didn't respond. I just hung up because hearing her voice bothered me in that moment. I read some comments saying indifference is a way to protect yourself from strong emotions, and I think they were right. After a few days, I started thinking about the time invested in my marriage, and I really got angry. For her, 8 years of relationship meant nothing. She was willing to throw it all away for someone else. For those curious, her lover is older, maybe 40 or 47, and he has a wife and kid. Honestly, I don't care what happens to him. Both he and my soon-to-be ex are trash that came out of the same landfill. Sorry I got angry writing this, so I took a break to calm down. Back to my soon-to-be ex, I really don't care if she contests the divorce. She's only making things harder for herself, since all our assets are separate, including the house where I live. For now, that's all I have to share. Thanks for the advice, and to those who commented that I should work things out with her, screw you. You don't get to decide for others, and frankly, it says more about your own issues. I'd rather divorce 1,000 times over than stay with someone who has no morals. Tell the wife of her lover, not the a-hole still, good luck in your divorce. She's a cheating POS. This and change the locks to your house. Maybe get some cameras. I have a sneaking suspicion that she might want to surprise you in a skimpy outfit in your house to pursue you. If she tries, call the police on her. I think she still thinks you will come around. Not the a-hole. Indifference is the ultimate power move. She made her choice, and now you're making yours, with a coolness that probably stings more than any argument would. Contesting a divorce from a house she doesn't own? That's next level denial there. Keep calm and let her handle the consequences of her own choices. Went through something similar. Indifference saved my sanity too. Stay strong. Focus on your peace and let her deal with the consequences. Contesting a divorce she can't win is just noise. You're doing what's best for you, and that's all that matters. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to loan my sister money for a divorce lawyer after she cheated on her husband? My sister, 36 female, has been married to her husband, 38 male, for 12 years. They have 3 kids together, and up until recently, I thought they had a pretty solid marriage. But about 2 months ago, she confided in me that she's been having an affair with her boss. She claimed it started because her husband doesn't pay attention to her, but honestly, I think it's just excuses. Well, her husband found out last week. He's devastated and wants a divorce, which has put her in a bad financial situation. She's now asking me, 32 male, for a loan to help cover the cost of a divorce lawyer and some of her living expenses. I refused. I told her that I can't support what she did and that her actions have consequences. She got furious, called me judgmental, and said I'm abandoning her when she needs me most. Our parents think I'm being too harsh and should help family no matter what. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give her the money? If your parents think you're being too harsh and that family helps no matter what, then they can step up and help her fix her mistakes. Family helps family. Yeah, right. Who was helping your brother-in-law? Your sister has showed that she'll betray family for her own pleasure. Exactly. If my parents are so set on family helping family, they can go ahead and cover her lawyer fees. Funny how that rule only seems to apply when it's convenient for her. It's unfair to her kids and husband. Not the a-hole. Tell her to ask for a loan from her boss. Yeah, that's what I told her actually. He could lend her the money. Not the a-hole, and you should be judgmental because your sis is a piece of trash. It's not the first time she cheats on her partner. She did that on one of her first boyfriends, and I found that really disturbing. Not the a-hole. I mean, let's break this down. She didn't accidentally bump into an affair. She fully signed up for that plot twist herself. Now she's looking at you like her personal get-out-of-consequences-free card? Sounds like she's got commitment issues. Not to the other people's money, apparently. And your parents think you're being harsh? Right, because nothing says supportive family like bankrolling a cheating scandal. You're just politely reminding her that actions have, those things called consequences. It's like she's somehow shocked that there might be real-life consequences for breaking up her family. She didn't just slip into an affair. She chose this mess and now expects the family to rally around her like she's the victim here. And my parents are really pushing that family loyalty angle. But to me, loyalty doesn't mean blindly funding someone's mistakes. It's one thing to support family in times of hardship, but she created this situation. She was hoping I'd just bail her out with no questions asked, but that's not how it works. Maybe it's time she starts figuring out the commitment she's got to her own choices. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not helping my ex-husband with babysitting and telling him to F off? I used to be married to Tom, and I honestly thought we were happy. We had a great house, good jobs, close friends and family, everything, until we had our daughter. She was born with a disability that heavily restricted her physically and mentally. Tom, being the coward he is, left us. Only recently has he started paying child support. He got remarried and had 2 more daughters. I don't speak to him, nor do I need to. He never talks about his own child and basically ignores her existence completely. His wife has tried to include my daughter and me in their family, but I refuse. I don't like her and I focus on myself and my daughter. Now here's the problem. His eldest daughter from his second marriage was in a horrible car accident a few months ago. She survived but is in critical condition and still in a hospital. Tom approached me and asked if I could babysit his youngest since he and his wife need extra time to visit their other daughter. He offered to pay me. I told him I didn't have time to care for his child and suggested he call other family members. He begged me, saying his family lives too far away and I'm the only close person he knows. I told him that's not my problem and explained that my daughter isn't used to having new people in the house. She needs to know someone for a long time before she's comfortable, and I'm not putting her comfort at risk for his child. He called me selfish and said I was punishing him and his daughter. I told him he could think whatever he wanted, and I haven't spoken to him since. His family has been harassing me over this, but I don't think I'm wrong. They're fine with him being a deadbeat, yet they're giving me grief for not bending over backward for him. I'm here because I do feel a bit guilty, but I think that's just mom guilt. Am I the a-hole? Why hasn't all those people giving you a hard time stepping up and helping him out instead of hassling you? Don't know. Maybe they can't stand him either. First of all, tell his family to watch her themselves. And then tell them to F off. Where were they when he ignores his child? Block them all. Not the a-hole. He refuses to see his daughter as his own, so you have no need to see his daughter as your own. He needs to own up to ostracizing you and your daughter and find a babysitter. It's just a weird thing to ask your ex, who hates you, to babysit your child. Some people just have no shame. Last story. Am I the a-hole for calling off the wedding after my fiancé gave his ex closure without telling me? I, 28 female, have been with my fiancé Tom, 30 male, for 3 years. He and his ex, Sarah, were together for 6 years before we met. And she's been a shadow hanging over our relationship the entire time. At first, I understood. They shared a lot of history, and breakups can be tough. But we're supposed to be each other's future now. We're planning our wedding, building a life, and I thought he was done with the past. A month ago, Tom got a random message from Sarah asking for closure. He didn't tell me about it, and instead of ignoring it or at least discussing it with me, he responded and met up with her. I found out when I saw a message on his phone that said, "Thanks for last night." My heart dropped. When I confronted him, he swore nothing physical happened, saying he stayed over until early morning just talking. I don't believe him, and worse, he got defensive, calling me insecure for feeling betrayed. He said Sarah deserved closure, and that I should understand since he's with me now. The more we talked, the more I realized he doesn't think he did anything wrong. I tried to explain how hurtful it was that he hid this from me, especially when he didn't need to, but he made me feel like I was the problem for being jealous of a friendship. Then came the kicker. Tom had the audacity to tell me this needed to happen so we could truly move on. He even suggested that Sarah should come to the wedding as a friend to show everyone there's no bad blood. I was stunned. How could he think it's appropriate to invite his ex to our wedding? Someone he apparently still feels the need to support? I've since called off the wedding, saying I need time to think, but my family and friends are split. Half say I should be able to trust him if he says nothing happened, while others think I'm totally justified. Meanwhile, Tom has been telling our friends that I'm controlling and making a big deal out of nothing, and now I'm second-guessing myself. Am I the a-hole for putting my foot down, or am I overreacting to something that really was innocent? He stayed there overnight for closure? Just how long does closure take? Not the a-hole, and he is bad-mouthing you to everyone, which only confirms your choice. I wonder how he'd feel if he spent the night with her ex. Exactly. I can only imagine the outrage if the tables were turned and I stayed over with my ex. Somehow, it's okay for him to pull something like this, but if I'd done it, I'm sure he'd see it as a betrayal. It really shows a double standard and lack of respect for our relationship. I have come to a realization I deserve someone who values my trust as much as I valued his. Not the a-hole, you're the rebound. Opie, that whooshing sound you're hearing is from the bullet you dodged. The controlling comment was game over no matter what. Get everything that is at his place and block him. They can have each other. Right? That was the final straw. It just showed he was trying to twist things around and make me feel guilty for his shady choices. I'm definitely done with this. Time to get my things and move on. They're welcome to each other. Thank you for this.